How many are attending?
Right now we have about 75 people.
Oh, wow. One class.
Yes.
This is the first time we are seeing you. No, I mean, I'm seeing you.
Yes, sir. We have only spoken all the time.
Yeah, that's right. இது எனக்கு ரைட் லெஃப்ட் மாறி வருது. அதை பண்ண முடியுமா? இப்போ பண்ண வேண்டாம். இது எனக்கு எப்போதும் வருது இந்த இன்வெர்ட்.
So you have more than one class. So we have about 91 people here today.
Okay, okay.
Shall we start, sir?
Yeah, definitely, sure.
Yes, sir. Over to Khushi.
An incredibly good morning to the respected speaker, Engineer Rajendran, respected faculties, and all my dear fellow mates. Today, I, Khushi Suraj, will be the moderator for this session. A very warm welcome to you all. A temple is a link between man and God, and between the actual and the ideal. Temples form an essential part in the development of our moral thoughts, which are undoubtedly responsible for making people straightforward, open-minded, liberal, and compassionate. Thoughts of temple and God discipline us and make us realize the significance of values in our life. Our speaker for today, Sir Rajendran, is a mentor, artist, engineer, and a conservationist. He is known for his interesting methods of teaching of complex structural knowledge in a practical and efficient way. A person who is always open to various discussions to all age groups and has been a constant supporter and mentor to all his students by making them take part in workshops and giving them an hands-on experience. He is known for his civil effective technology, cost-effective methodologies, temple renovations, and civil engineering constructions. He started his career in 1975 with L&T till 1977. He has worked in the Tamil Nadu Highways Department for 9 years. He has been a consultant for cost-effective technology across the nation and abroad. He has served as the state president in the Federation of Civil Association of Tamil Nadu. His conservation, repairing, and renovation works include Sri Rajagopalaswamy Temple, Amman Temple, Sri Shiva Temple, Adi Parakshati Temple, and a series of temples in USA, Malaysia, Singapore, and many more. Not only temples, he has also worked in churches and a mosque for his renovations. It's an absolute honor to have you with us today, sir. Before I hand over the session to the speaker, I request all the participants to post their questions in the comment section, which will be addressed at the end. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice of you to give me so much of introduction.
Thanks.
We'll go to that. Yeah. Before getting into the subject, I'd like to say we are talking about temple architecture. That means normally Hindu temples. Hindu temples, we call it Hindu place of worship is called temple, and rest is all the things we have different names. Especially the religion is not important now. Every religion leads to one place only. That's God. So my thing is based on faith, and I'm going to show you some of the traditional methods of approach, what they did, how they had the devised system, all those things I'm going to show you. So here, let me go to the first slide. See, the laws governing the construction of structure do not change with the passing of years or centuries. They are the basic laws of nature. See, everything, once you follow the nature, I don't think you have any problem. So the nature always guides properly. It never misguides. Only man misguides everything. So the nature, follow the nature, it'll be all right. So this is, I'm showing you some of the list. Just forget about the language. Just see 32.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think
Yes.
the screen sharing is not started, sir.
My hearing is not there. My voice.
There. Screen sharing. If you're sharing something.
Yeah, I'm sharing, but it's not there.
Not. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back again. This, are you able to share it?
Not yet. We don't see your screen.
No.
You need to press the green button. Yes, and you can.
Yeah, I'll go back. I'll go back and then screen. Yeah. Now I'm doing it. Okay. Yes. Share. Now you are able to see that?
Very much, sir. Your screen has started sharing. Yes, sir.
Sorry for that.
Not
thing.
at all.
Relationship with this system is only presentation, that only. I don't have that much of in-depth knowledge in this presentation and other things, but I can get the job done. So this is the temple architecture. The title is temple architecture. Normally temple, the word we attach only to the Hindu temples. All the rest, Sikh also we call it, but the Gurudwar they call it. Rest of the things, all the place of worships has got their own identity. But anyway, all the religion aims for one thing, and that is the goal is only God. So the one God, only God. So let us talk about how that, architecture about this Hindu temples. Are you able to see that now? Okay. The laws governing the construction of structure do not change with the passing of years or centuries. They are the basic laws of nature. See, nature has got the best thing in the world. If you follow nature, there's nothing, no harm in it. See, no harm, not only you're successful. Like the load, anything. For example, we go back to William Tell. You drop an apple and it falls down, it is due to gravity. That is nature. The same thing happens in any structure, whichever we form over the surface of earth, it is attracted towards the center, at what we call it center of gravity. So it varies from planet to planet. Moon has got a different way of center of gravity. Gravity changes according to the planets. But we are in earth, so let's talk about only this. So the nature, if you follow nature, all the objects, whichever is there, it is attracted towards center. See, if that is not the case, our Burj Khalifa, when it rotates, when our earth rotates down, it has to fall. It is not falling. The water on the surface of the earth does not go away because of the speed of the earth. At the same time, the gravitational pull towards it. But we don't feel the upside down movement, feeling. So it is again nature only. So it's, see, I've given you a lot of lists in this. In Tamil, it is all textbooks, which is about 32 books on the left side, and then 18 books on the right side. All these books are texts about the grammar and the way of, how to do this, all those things. It is given by different authors, very popular books, but nothing is available now except this for 6 books at the bottom. Mayamadam, Visvakarmiyam, Manasaram, Aindramadam, and then Manusaram, Kasyapam. So only these 6 books are available now. And from that 6, we have so much to see. See, the measurements, unit measurement, the inches, what the British devised and what our people have devised about nearly 3,000 years back. Look at this. Manangulam. Manangulam means angulam means inch. Manangulam means it is a text. See, there you see 8 paddy are placed vertical. So this is an unit. And there is another manangulam in a different variation, linear, lengthwise, 4 paddies are packed. See, the yardstick, 6 manangulam is 1 danam. Forget about the language, just understand the sound, take the sound alone. 6 manangulam is 1 talam. 2 talam is 1 vidasti, all Sanskrit scripts. This has been translated. Originally, it was followed in Tamil, and that has been translated in between, but this stands. 2 vidasti alladu, 24 fingers. 24 fingers is 1 hastam or Tachumulam. Tachumulam means carpentry yard. Tachi mudam, carpenter. 1 mudam means forearm from end to tip. That is mudam. So this is the 24 viral. 24 viral means it is gap thumbs. 24 thumbs. It makes 1 yardstick. See, that same thing has been they have devised it in a vertical in a stick with all these things. It's about 6. 24 viral. 24 viral means fingers. 1 keshku mudam. 4 keshku mudam or dandam. And 8 dandam or 32 keshku mudam. 1 rajas or 1 kair. Kair means rope, but it is a chain like what we have chain. They had 32 keshku mudams. And 24 into 32, you get how many fingers in that. See, this is also, there is another method, Ratni and Aratni. So this is followed. These types of things are followed. This is an average measurement, but it will be correct. So this is first the unit I wanted to explain what they had followed previously. And now there is another, what you call it, atom. 8 anu, 1 terthul. Terthul means dust. And 8 dust, 1 imi. 8 imi, 1 yellow. Yellow means what you call it, gingerly, I mean, sesame. Yellow. And 8 yellow or nell. Nell means paddy. 8 tips of that sesame is 1 paddy. 8 paddy is 1 thumb, periviral. And this is how it has been taken from the Silappatikaram, the epic, Silappatikaram, which was written about nearly 2,500 years back. And that is the thing. That in English, angulum means 1/3/8. And then Vidasti means 12 fingers. 12 into 1/3/8 equal to 1 foot 4.5 inches. Kishku means 2 Vidasti. 2 into 1 4.5 equal to 2 feet 9 inches. That is the stick they used. But you see it down. Tanjore system. Tanjai means Tanjavur system followed different way. 24 fingers, then 24 thumbs. That measurement is 2.9. Sidambaram means 2 feet 9 inches. Sidambaram means 25 thumbs. That is 2 feet 10.338. And Madurai means Madurai followed a different system. That is 23 quarter thumbs. That is equal to 2 feet 8 inches. And Kaira means the rope. That is a longer to linear measurement. If you need something to measure like 100 feet tape or 30 meters tape, it's 88 feet. So all these things are taken from Manasaram, Kamigakamam, and Viswarkamyam. So all this, the items are what I have taken is from all the texts. Now coming to the temple, basic structure. See, this is how you see a temple. Up to this, I'll give you the names later, but up to this point, this is the ceiling, we call it. And in Prastaram, in that is Sanskrit, Ubabidam, this is the first. Up to this, you can say it is a plinth level, Ubabidam. And 2 is Adhishtanam, above plinth up to the inner temple floor. That is Adhishtanam. Padam means the side, up to the lintel, 3 feet, that is Padam, Kal. And Prastaram, 4 is Prastaram, up to this called Prastaram, and this is the top of Prastaram. Kal Pravai means end to end. In the middle, that is in this Padam, you measure outer to outer. That is called Kal Pravai. And 6 is while the entrance inner from here to here. That is below the lintel. And this is the door jamb, door top block, and bottom is door jamb. And from this bottom step, stone, this distance is called Voil Ulpuram. Voil Ul Agalam. Agalam means inner. Inner means this is from measurement from door jambs, leaving the door jambs. These are the basic things, okay? How the basic things has come, just see. This is the floor details. I've got some English translation also for this. This was done about 2015. See, Sithira Vali. This called this element. See, all this grammar, you don't worry about it. Just follow it. You'll don't worry wasting your time on these things. So you'll learn it later. This is Ubabidam. Ubabidam is the bottom, and then Ubabidam, Ubagandam. Ubagandam is this. Then Ubagandam means neck. Ubagandam. Ubabidaka Bodhakam. This is something like a dove tail. So they call that Gabodhakam. And then Adhishtanam Padmam. See, up to this, we call it Ubabidam. And then Jagadi, all this in Kumudam, Pattihai, Kalvari, Irandavadu Vari, that's the second line. And Kalasam, they call it Palagai. Then Palagai, in the temple pillars, you see the projection like this, that is called Palagai. Podigai means something like a bed block. And Uttara means a beam, straight lines. This comes straight. And Gabodaka means, again, it's something like a dove's tail. And this is doesn't allow water to drip on the building. So it is something like a water drippage. And Vyadam, what is at the top? This is above this only the whole thing comes. When you place this, it comes above that. And in this Podigai, that is the one. And Kandavari, again neck. This is Manjuvari. See, all these things, there are layers. This is 2 tiers. See, from here to here, it is again repeated from here to here. So the same name only, just the top, we call it Kalasam. Mahabhatmamari. Padma means lotus, Mahabhatmamari. And Pandial, we call it Pandial, and Pandial 2, Pandial 3, and Pandial 4, 1. So Uttiravari means, Uttaram means beam. It will be around a circular beam. And Vyadagandam, this is a Vyadagandam. And these are the grammar for a temple. And how they arrive at it is a different calculation. They know the area is calculated based on Ayadi. Ayadi means they devised a system where the person who is going to do the job, the temple work, not the sculptor or anything, who is funding it, Karta we call it. The person's thumb is taken as the one division is taken as a unit measurement and multiplied. So this is how the calculations are done. And the interior, the sanctum sanctorum size, and the statue or the idol which you are going to put in the middle, that is also taken. The height is worked out based on this. They got a very elaborate calculations. Just we need not go to that level. See another, now coming to that foundation. I am there at Gangakonda Cholapuram's Maligai Mede, where the Rajaraja Cholan's son Rajendra Cholan was there. Great wonder in this is I am standing by the side of great person who is called, whose name is Dr. Kodavail Balasubramaniam. He is an authority in Chola dynasty and authority in Chola bronze icons. And he was one of the important persons who was the reason for bringing that Nadaraja and Rajaraja Chola back to India. So he is such a great person. I normally travel with him wherever, whatever doubts I have, I clarify with him. And we are taking down the foundation stone measurements. Here, the wonder is there was no queen closer in this. It is the joints are made such a way. It was wonderful construction. This is about nearly 4 feet wide, 1.2 meter width. The next one is about 1.1 or 1.05. Like that, it gets reduced. See this, all the bricks are now not available. We were there about nearly 15 years back. Now, no brick is available. Everything has been taken by the people who are there, living there, and they are using it for their own purpose. But even though it is, looked after by this, what do you call it, UNESCO, the aid, and then under that, our heritage thing is doing it, but still they are not able to control it. Now coming back to the foundation, how the stones are placed, watch. All independent stone stands, no mortar. There are no mortar in this. It is stacked, beautifully carved and stacked. That is the beauty of it. The foundation, one corner, just a sample I have shown you. See this. We are going back to what is the traditional system, what we call it? Post and beams. Am I right? Post and beams. See the post, see the beams. It is standing without any mortar for centuries. This is about nearly 800 years. This has been standing, not 850 years or 900 years roughly. This whole thing is standing like this. Has been demolished, but later placed one or the other. It is the same way they had placed it. Look at this. This is, we call it bed block, and they call it podigel. And this is a column, we call it, they say it is a subi, tune. And then this is, we call it the beam, they call it utram. Only the language difference, all these things are stacked. It is not in straight line. This is a polygonal junction. We call it a polygonal joint. Look at this, how it is done. This is in Gangaikonda Chodappuram, on the side. The other in Dharasuram, this is in Dharasuram. See the stones, all the stones are freestanding columns. No, it doesn't come from down. It stands on a bed block, that's all. And it is purely on gravity. The whole system stands on gravity. See, look at this. This is a bed block. This is a column. This is a beam. And over the beams, again, smaller slabs are resting across. See, the slabs are done like this. Small beams. So look at this. This is Palagai, what is seen in that. And this has got some of the very early stones in this. This has got a Pallava's influence, but done with later with Cholas differently. Come look at this. This Palagai is a speciality of Cholas. So they have done this. This is a separate stone. This is a separate stone. This is a separate stone. The whole thing is one stone. So like this, it is placed, still standing for the past about 900 years. See, another I'm showing you at Raja, this big temple. Look at this. This is, everything is placed one or the other, no mortar in between. And here, this is a cantilever. It's a sunshade. In Tamil, they call it, in architectural language, traditional architectural language, they call it Kodungai. Kodungai. So it is now the columns, see the 90-degree turn, how they are placed. Beautiful. Each has got a column. And this is again, all these things are precast like separate pieces. See, you can see the joints here. Only joint line. It is not joint. It is, they have not joined it, but the joint line is here. It is visible, still there. 1,000 years, nearly 1,020, 1,030 years old now. It's standing. Look at this. See the beauty in here. It's something like a woodwork, but it is a stone. See, this is a separate piece. From here to here, separate piece. From here to here, separate piece. From here to here, separate piece. The whole thing is carved inside to remove the weight, self-weight. And they have done it something like a highly creative and imaginative work, and they have done it like a woodwork. And it is resting. See, this is a fulcrum, a beam. The total thing is rest on this, and that has got a counterweight at the back, so it stands. And this is, see the projection. From here, it is single piece. This is a separate. See, look at this. From here, the whole thing is single unit, and this is a separate unit, and it is standing by the supported by this. Look at this. It is in Tanjavur. You see the angular thing. See, the angular is a highly technical. As an engineer, what I say, angular friction. Any mechanical engineering people, when they want to lock the cantilever or some other thing, they do it angular. So it doesn't fall down. If it falls down, the backside, due to friction, this will stand. So this is angular friction. It creates angular friction and stands. Center is straight. Gradually it deviates. Watch. Beautiful. Highly technical. 1,000 years back they have done it. But what are the basic principles they followed? We don't know. There is no description about that. But highly technical. Look at this. There is a small hole. Still it is from here to here there is a single piece. And for 90 degrees, this one, look at this, look at that. Is placed a stone, this is a beam which comes here, and over the beam that stands, using the beam as a fulcrum. And it won't topple because it has got a counterweight at the back. Okay, coming to brick. Cholas were doing a lot of things in brick early. Then later, once Rajarajan period, they started working on this one like stone. The brick what we had taken from there is size, see the size, beautiful. It is nearly 1,000 years old. And that the mortar in between is only mud. They grind the mud and sand and use it as a mortar, very thin. It's hardly about 2 mm or something. Due to wear and tear, the holes have come. Otherwise, it is very clear. You see like this, joints are like this, joints are like this. See the big temple foundation, what they had followed. See, in a temple foundation, normally it is done in different way in different places based on the soil condition. Especially in the wonderful, the best foundation example is this one, this big temple, the Rajaraja Bragadeshwaram at Tanjavur. See, it is followed like the bottom thing, bottom stone. The stone was dressed by manually, they have dressed it so nicely. And then the size is about approximately 40 to 45 centimeter, width is about 60 centimeter, length is about 3.6 is maximum, less than the 3 or 2.8 like that. They had placed the first row in one direction, either east-west, this one east-west. The next one is similarly, they have done it with north-south. And the other one is again, they've repeated that. See, the between this, they have the ball and socket. See, look at this way. The top one will have a ball and the bottom one will have a cup-like arrangement. So that lateral movement, this doesn't slide. You know, the depth of foundation of big temple is only 1.5 meter, 5 feet. Imagine the height of the temple is about 60 meters, 218 feet. And the depth of foundation is only 5 feet because this technique has been followed. This is nothing but what we do now is the modern engineering. We do it like we call it raft. A huge concrete, reinforced concrete base is created. On the base, the rod goes to the wall. So the wall rests on that. Through the wall, the load gets dissipated to the foundation, the raft. But here, they have done it everything on stone. So then there is no mortar in between, mind you. And it is so nicely dressed by hand. It's not even a paper can enter. We had seen the foundation of Dharasuram that was later constructed by Chola period only. So we knew the same system has been followed. That has been verified from the archaeological ASI. ASI people are maintaining it. I have verified with many ASI people, I mean the sculptors, all those things. They say there is no mortar in between. The foundation depth is, I have seen the depth also. Once they wanted to test it, we have seen the thing, 1.5 meters. So it is so great. The temple is high technological thing. This one temple is enough to talk about fine arts, architecture, and engineering. It has got everything. So when we find time, we'll discuss on that also. But it is the whole thing is done from the square wall. It is angularly polygon. They make the polygon, and the polygon will become the curve at the top center circle. It is a hollow up to the bottom of the neck. The whole temple is hollow up to like it is like an inverted tumbler. That is why this can withstand any amount of wind pressure. Nothing can happen. Even the mild seismic thing, this doesn't get disturbed. All interlocked like this way. See, coming to the other side, the foundations, how the stones are fixed. See, look at this. There is no mortar. It is in Dharasuram, Kumbakonam. See, look at this. The joints are staggered. Joints are staggered. Mind you, all those things are very, very important. What we do in brickwork, and they have done it in stone. See, this has got a locking system so that it lateral movement, this doesn't slide. See, the joint is here, it comes here and goes, this is the top, and the joint is here. So this joint and this joint not comes in the straight line. It doesn't come there. It is here also, it is like this. So the interlocking is there, and see the slight shift. They have not linked it. This has been introduced later. We could see that. We can, on seeing the construction, we can say it is old or this is later. Original temple was like that. They had taken another thing. Somebody, the next king, or after 100 years, or after 200 years, 300 years, another king comes, and some of his people who have demanded this, they want steps for this, then they have done it. Luckily, they have not disturbed the traditional, the old structure. That's a good thing about it. Very sensitive about not disturbing the traditional background, the original work. So it is only placed over that. This can be removed. You can, when I had done some repair works for about 1,200, 1,600, I mean, years old temples. What we do when we remove it, we put the number from which direction. Either we follow from northeast, go around clockwise, and we start the alphabets from there, from top, row number 1, row number 2, row number 3, like that. We come down, number it, place it further. The first row will be somewhere outside, second row will be next row, like that. Once we complete the repair, again we replace it over that, like this. This is a very interesting one. Of you, few of the students who are just viewing can become a conservation architect, and you can get into conservation. Conservation is a very interesting topic, but not with, I mean, initially, I don't think you will get that much of money in that. And if you are very particular about money, forget about conservation. You don't take up that course. This is, anyway. Now see this. See this, everything. All the details. Look at this. See, somebody has put the numbers. I mean, ASI, they had worked, I think. They had removed something, and they see, this is one layer of stone. This is another layer of stone. Another layer. See, here, they'll have a rough cut, place it over that and cut it fully. That's how they do it. See here also. One of the best, this type of entrance is big temples, Tanjavur, Brihadishwara temples, Murugan temple inside, sub temple Murugan. This entrance steps is one of the best in the world in Tanjavur. See, the sanctum sanctorum above, there is a, I mean, the whole system is open till the top. Whole thing, it is, but see the stones out there placed. It is not in straight line. This is a polygonal joint. Whatever the stone they receive, they place it, and this stops the lateral movement. This resists the lateral movement. So this is one of the engineering, I mean, point what they had done it. See, look at this. Look at these joints. See, this joint. This gentleman is Dr. Anal Ramachandran, former Vice Chancellor, Periyar Maniamma University, very good friend of mine. Wherever we go for this type of thing, he'll also come with us. So we have missed him. In Corona, he perished. So very sad thing. Dr. Anal Ramachandran, very popular person. And see, this is a system. When they go for a lintel something, they use cut lintel. And this is a projection to reduce the gap. See, if they have it from here, the stone may not take the load. So the depth, it is L by B ratio, L by B. B by D, breadth by depth. This is the depth, breadth of the stone. That is important in this. They followed that system. And look at this. The opening is reduced by this stone. And that is supported by cornice. It is something like, you can call it a cornice stone projected inside. And see all the thing. See, this is by ASI work, numbered. They have numbered it. This is how we repair it. They have placed it, replaced it. This is in Gangaikonda Chodapuram. See, this is two side stones will be there. Inside there'll be a mortar mixed broken stones. This wall is called diaphragm wall. We call it diaphragm wall. This technique, and it is done like this. The big temple walls are like this only. They have done it. And here, look at that. See this, you could clearly see this. The outside is dressed, inside is not dressed. Outside is, this is outside, even though it is inside of the wall. I mean, this is outside of this wall, two walls. And look at this. This is how the bigger walls are done. Over that, they'll put the stones here and then make it monolithic. I mean, that load is distributed on all. See, in brick, they had done it. Before stone, Rajarajan only started that, but before that, another 1,000 years back, Cholas were good in bricks. So look at this brick, so long, so long. It's about 15 centimeter, 15 inches by 11 inches by 3 inches. Look at the joint, how closely done. That mortar is so, they grind the lime and sand. After grinding it, the ground mix is fixed here. Look at this, very thin. You don't see the joints at all. This is a Chola temple, very old. Look at this, how they have carved it, shaped it. This is Palagai. They see here, what you see, here, what you see here. Those things, look at this close. See the joint. After exposing, even we don't see the mortar at all. See the ceiling. A square is made into a polygon. How it is, we call this way. You put a thing across the square corners, you make the octagon, and then another one here, here. This is in their language, architectural language, they call it Konavatam, Sadravatam. So, and over that, they have some motifs. This has got, everything has got a meaning. And look at this. See, these are the stones. See, this is, we call it Uttaram, beam. And over the beam, you put across smaller beams, which acts like a slab. This is, they call it Pavukal. See here the stone, Thun, and over that Podigal, and over that beams, and then this is Pavukal. Pavukal means paving stone. So this is a roof ceiling, they done it. In temples, they do it like this. The top will be uneven, but the bottom will be dressed, and they have some motives in that. See, this is another temple. See, we believe the Kalasam's mark is somewhere in the center. The statue should be right down underneath for the plumb line. So it will be like that. Some of the old temples, they had used wooden things over it to take the load on lime mortar. It is built on lime mortar. This is, we call it carbling, and it goes up, it reduces the gap. Carbling is the best way of reducing the gap. So this we have been doing in the Cholas, been doing for years, thousands, 2,500, 2,000 years back. But they say many still believe, many still talk about that as these styles have been brought from Western countries. That is not at all correct. Even the arches, they say it comes from Persia. It came from Persia. No, they had done it much earlier to that. I'm very sure about it, and I can prove with some of the constructions also. See, look at that carbling inside. Look at the carbling inside. Carbling, everything. The carbling is a system to reduce the span. Gradually, they reduce the span. Look at this beautifully done, renovated work. Look at this. Look at that. It is, you see from bottom, the top. See this plan of a big temple. It doesn't have single wall. It has got to, this is a sanctum sanctorum inside. This is 26 feet by 26 feet. Only this northeast side is slightly 3/4 of an inch more. That is deliberately they keep as per the Shastra. And here that has got 4 exits, 4 openings. And these openings, this is one wall, inside wall. The wall depth, 11 feet. And the corridor is 6 feet. And then 13 feet. Outside wall is 13 feet. The whole load comes over it. The whole temple load comes over it and gets dispersed on 2 walls. The 2 walls rest on the raft, what I showed previously. And this, the temperature inside is about 24 degrees or 25 degrees, like an air-conditioned room. You know how this works on a Venturi effect. What do you mean by Venturi effect? See, the air enters here, the whole volume of air enters here when there is a draft that comes squeezed in. Once it expands, that loses the temperature. So it goes out and gets out like this. So this Venturi effect, they have done it beautifully. The simple example for Venturi effect is open your mouth and blow. Ha! It'll be warm. Keep your mouth like a whistling blow. You get a very cool air. That is a simple example, for Venturi effect. That same thing has been followed 1,000 years back. Understand? Their knowledge of science, their knowledge of architecture, knowledge of engineering was so good. And we don't have any proof for that. I mean, everything is only on inscriptions and the buildings. That's why they say we learn the culture and tradition, architectural heritage by their buildings, not with any literature or anything. So this is very important. That's why the iconic building, every nation plans to do an iconic building of its own. See, when you say Dubai, what you call it, Burj Al Arab, Burj Khalifa, that is the tallest. Something is done at China, that is going to be a different tower. So like this, everybody is, see, the Paris has got a landmark structure, Eiffel Tower. So only the construction thing, material, I mean the structures remains as world wonders, not any scientific inventions. So world wonders are man-made. So that is why I said, you follow the nature and make a thing. One of you can become a builder or a designer for a world wonder later, future. See, look at this temple. How it is, you can see the solid wall, this side, and it is the grounding thing from here, this is solid. It goes all up to that. See the corbelling inside. See the vertical and again a vertical corbel like that. Look at this. This is about 13 feet height. This linga is 13 feet height. They have placed this inside first and they have started constructing outside. This is a style they followed. And this corridor contains beautiful paintings of Chola, vegetable paintings, the colors they had used. And this, the next tier has got karnas, 108 Bharatanatyam karnas. Only they had finished 82. Rest is they have left it. They couldn't complete. So all those things, and they had 3 floors over that. Ground floor, 1 more floor, first floor, second floor. They had it. They were going on this to tribute to Linga Shiva. So they have used to shower flowers from that. See, look at this. Sorry, it showers from there. And all the 365 days, there was celebrations like this. And the next one, see, this is another cross section. All the backdrops, 2 tiers of circumference, the corridor, 2 tiers. That has been demolished. Only 1 tier you see. That's all the rest you see this. This is the thickness of the wall. Again, another direction. See the thickness. This is, you see that 11 feet on this. This is 11 feet. And this is 13 feet, this is 6 feet. The gap is 6 feet. It comes all round. This also, it comes all round. Here there is a painting, here there is a sculptures. The painting is maintained because the color is, you can see the real red color, real green, real, all with vegetable dyes. They had made it 1,000 years back, still alive, still active. You can see that. That has been, Nayaks have overlaid the paintings with some more their style of painting with lime plastering. That has been gradually removed by ASI, Archaeological Survey of India. The whole temple is maintained by ASI. See the temple, this tiers. See, now coming back to the thing, or the lintel stone bricks they had used, traditionally they had used this. Look at this, the flat arch is possible. When you have a hands-on workshop, I'll come and do it. I had done a lot of 2 hands-on workshop for your seniors. You could see that things there in your corridor or some other places in your place, in your college. See this arch, segmental arch. This is a segmental arch. The load is transferred here perpendicularly, and that is resisted by the cuts. Here the stone is dressed like this and placed. So this is segmental arch. See now how a dome is done. Watch. It is taken from no dome without formwork, vault without formwork. See from here a radius, how it is maintained. See, look at this. You yourself can do it once we do hands-on workshop. We can do that. Don't worry. Once the corona is over, I'll come there and do it for you. Look at this. I use this. Swivel eye, they call it, or twisting eye. This is used in one axis, this twist. I tie that at the center use a string or a wire, non-expandable mild steel or any chain, and I rotate it around that. And the same blocks are placed at the same angle. That's how we do the dome. See, look at this. One of my works, I had done a lot of domes. I had done one for Sasikala Anand also, architect Sasikala Anand, who writes in Hindu. This is another, see the slope. See, I had done that swivel eye like this. So it is maintained. The slope is maintained. Slope is maintained. Same way I had done domes. See, then coming to the vault. How the vaults is done? Single groin. It is a groin will be there at the top. So how it is done? See, this is drawn. From this, you divide that into 3 or 5. Take from this point, you take a curve. From this point, you take a curve like this and then start doing it. The string will be there. You place the brick based on this spring slope. And from this string slope, you do this. Finally, it will converge and it will come to the center. You will seal it. See, I had used small steel angles to guide, not so much. I'd used only 2 or 3. You can see that. See how the stones are placed. Stones with lime mortar. I had revived this technique, which was followed by, or I mean, which was done by Cholas. Now we are doing it. We are following it. We are doing it. A lot of even traditional Tabadis are doing it. Look at this. I've done some work for Vijay Ramachandran, architect from Bangalore, who had his early studies, masters in US, came to India and wanted to construct a Ford Foundation gave him some money to do some orphanage work in Trichy. So I was one of the consultants for the vaults for him. So we did a beautiful building. So this is how the vaults are done. How the vaults are done. Again, these are the things I had introduced. See, we can go for stone vault, a stone without mortar. You can place the stones, a trapezoidal stone. Cut the trapezoidal stone in a trapezoidal fashion and place it from here to here. Simultaneously, it has to be done. Once it comes to the top, you use this type of keystones. You don't need a mortar in this. See, I have done 3 for a temple about 800 years old. A dilapidated condition, we removed the whole, we pulled down the whole structure, we did the new work. And in that we had used this. See, something like that, how it is done. See, here the client wanted a prototype. So I did it. See, this is a line and we know the distance. This is distance based on the site conditions. And then I made into 3 divisions. This one. From this division, I put an arc. From here, this center point, I put an arc. And I left the string as it is, this wire here and here, binding wire. Then we did that with lime mortar. Look at this, the convergence, how it is converging. This is this person I think you must be knowing is architect Ramalingam from Madurai. And these 2 gentlemen are great traditional architects. They are from Kumbakonam. This is Vilinathan Acharya from Kumbakonam. His younger brother is Sumabadi Acharya from Kumbakonam. They have 450 years of their manuscripts from their family. The family is Vishwakarma family. They are running a beautiful Gurukulam. The TVS is running it, and these 2 people are in charge of that. For the Vishwakarma dropouts from 10th standard, they educate them and they convert them into Stabadis. So this is a young architect, a trainee. So they are observing. Look at this, how it is converging. Automatically, this will converge. Lime mortar. Lime is grinding. We do the grinding with a commercial grinder. How it is done. Architect Ramalingam is keenly observing that. See, look at this. Only these steel 2 angles, flats, I used it as a guideline. Here I place a stone and then here I place it. Then I used ropes like this. See this, how it is converging. And before that, the bed block is done with stone. We combine the modern technology. We cut it with machines, this type of squinches, and then used in the thing. And it is converged. It comes. One is over, other one is going on. Look at the stone, what we used for the squinches, bed blocks. Here. Lime mortar. We had complete. This is another one, the existing one. It's about 850 years by Nikes, I think. No, Chola only later repaired by Nikes. Look at the bricks, how it is. Beautiful. You could see that. Here, see the joint. See the joint. The same one outside appearance. See another one great by Cholas. This is for a car, temple car. They had placed a shed. Look at this. This is about 15 centimeter. At this is about 1 foot and odd. So it is gradually decreasing. See how nicely done. You know why they use small stones, small bricks? See, by surface tension, it stands. Once you apply mortar over it and stick it to the next brick, it will remain. If you have a thicker brick, the absorption of the brick, the mortar is not there, so it falls. It slides on a self weight. So always they go for smaller brick. See the another now near Ariel on the road. Now the whole building is completely engulfed by the tree. It is now it is without any mortar, Chola period construction. And look at this. It's a bed block. Underneath all the bed blocks remaining. See the ball. A cup-like arrangement. The stone will this pillar will have a ball at the bottom, half ball, and then it is placed over that. These are the stones. Look at this and stands. This is how the whole thing stands. Very simple post and beams. This is a cantilever, Kodungai, sunshade. It is curved like what you saw in Big Temple. This was done later. See, look at this. Each, how they stagger the joints, how it is placed. Look at that. Beautiful. See, the tree is taking the thing. Now it has totally, the roots have gone inside and it broken the temple into pieces. See, another. I made the two postgraduate structural engineers to analyze and say how safe it is in a simple way, like L by B ratio. So they had done it, so they had marked it. It is a simple 4-pillar Nandi Mandapam at Yerambiswarar Koil in Thiruvarambur. On the way from NIT to when you go to Trichy, you see this. There is a small hillock at the right side after crossing Thiruvarambur. That is a place where you see this. See, this is a simple principle. This is a foundation stone. That's a bed block. It's again a big, stones. Over there, the column. Over the column, there's a bed block. Bed block, there is a beam. Over the beam, you see another pavukal right across the slab. See the temples, how they are made. What all I said, the grammar, following the grammar, they had used granite. And the joints will be, inside will be slightly higher, outside will be lower. So that rainwater doesn't creep through that. Doesn't, seepage won't be there. So that's a stone. See the stone colossum, Padmam, that is a lotus, and all this. They followed the grammar very strictly. It changed according to, as the centuries grow, it gradually, the styles changed as per the, us and there, when there was a new introduction, somebody tried to introduce something, but they never broke the basic system. See, look at this. Salagaram, they call it. Jollies made out of stone. All handmade, not machine made. The same thing, same temple we repaired, but we followed a machine made system. See, there is granite is cut with water. Do you know that? So thin, like a jolly. Granite. I want to show you that so you understand how it cuts. The high pressure jet cuts the thing. See, here it is cutting it inside water. Water cuts stone. You cannot believe, no? It is happening. That is how the thin, the thick granite is cut into very thin sheets. Like even they have made visiting cards in granite using this water. You know why they do cut it with water? when you use steel or something, it generates heat. Once it heats up, the whole thing breaks, the stone breaks. It cannot withstand the heat. So they cut it with, it removes particle by particle, microparticles, the high pressure jet. Right, I think I have covered generally from foundation to top. Any questions you can ask, interaction, I'm welcome. I think you want any, ma'am, what is your,
Yes.
what do you,
Amazing, sir.
whatever you want, okay, I have given it now in a short span.
Yes, sir. Actually, spellbound.
Okay,
Listening to
12
you.
o'clock now.
Very nice. Very nice. Any questions?
Thank you so much, sir, for this
Welcome.
highly inspirational presentation. Totally enjoyed and admired it. I hope this can be an inspiration for most of us who would like to go into this field of architecture also. And hopefully our future generations get an opportunity to meet someone like you again who will be addressing students like us.
Definitely.
So totally. So thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
So now we can move on to the question answer session. You can either unmute yourself or write it in the chat comments box below.
I'll be, I mean, I don't mute it, so I leave it as it is. Whenever the question comes, I answer, okay?
Yes. Sir.
Yes.
Okay. I think exactly 1 hour I've done it.
Very nice, sir. It was an amazing piece of information and so scientifically put, with all the fantastic fundamentals of engineering included into it.
See, one thing as a staff, no, you teach only the principles, not the methods. If you teach the principles, that's enough for the students to probe and they venture. So my advice to staff is young staff, you have a young faculty, I tell them to take up only the basic principles, teach them only principles, allow the students to venture.
Good afternoon, Rajendran.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I'm architect Balakrishnan from Coimbatore.
Oh, welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. After a long time.
Yes, sir. I joined a little late. You see, the time is now absolute noon, 12 o'clock.
Yes.
And my question is about the pinnacle of the temple because I came a little late. I was not very sure whether you talked about the Brihadishwara temples, the stone.
Fantastic.
There are two stories about it. In many cases, they say that was pulled up by a group of elephants. And one of my friends told me that it is like an orange peel combined together. Which is the correct thing?
Orange peel. Orange peel is the correct thing. See, if the pulling it, I mean, pulled by elephants, I don't think they have to put a ramp. That ramp should be in the present, what we say, the overbridges, wherever we have. The overbridge slope design is, the slope ratio is 1 in 15. Every 15 feet, 1 foot raise. That is the slope. Otherwise, you can go maximum up to 10, 1 in 10. But if you have that, the ramp should have been somewhere further away in Tanjavur temple. And that is not correct. It is a helically they have done it. And we had some proof for that. And helically it is done. Elephants have not moved, all in pieces. So I don't think it will be, the pieces will be approximately about 2 tons or something. So 4 or 5 people can carry it with something like Egypt, what they did. That must have been the reason for, type or technique they had used. That one thing. The other one, the pinnacle, what you say, the shadow doesn't fall, the shadow falls. I have a lot of photographs for that. I can, one session I'll take for this. The shadow falls over it. The actual thing is, during noon, 12 o'clock, the shadow doesn't fall outside all the 365 days. You know why? The base is about 100 feet by 100 feet. The top is about 24 by 24. On the center, it is about 30 feet. The center pinnacle, the kalasam is there. That shadow falls only within this. During Uttarayanam and Dashinayanam, all the 6 months, it starts, the sun travels from south to north in Uttarayanam. And Dashinayanam, sun travels from south to, north to south. That is at noon, whatever the latitude or longitude, that shadow falls within the temple. Only other times 3 o'clock and after 2:30, 3 o'clock, you can see the shadow falling outside. I have taken photographs. I have a lot of shadow photographs, and the people stand on the shadow and say the shadow doesn't fall. So it is like that. It's only a myth. That was about 25, 22 years back. I wrote an article in Hindu, and that has been proved. There
No,
was an
sir,
article.
I have a doubt about this pinnacle. On top of that stone, we have this brass cupola on top.
Yes.
The present cupola was not the original one, in my opinion, and it is fairly taller. It probably is about a meter or a little more than that, and obviously, its shadow is bound to fall on one of the two sides in the morning or evening. But in my personal opinion, this is my personal opinion, the original pinnacle was not so big.
Okay.
And
Even
if the size was shorter, its shadow would have fallen on within the outline of the stone above.
Temple base. Yes, I agree. And not the stone. I mean the one with the grivam, they call it the neck, no, the sigaram. Not in that. The shadow means, I say, base. The sides of the temple it falls. The pinnacle is rightly said. It is by done by Marathas. Pinnacle, the one which is now existing, is done by Marathas. Original one, it is somewhere, nobody knows where it is. But later, about 250 years to 300 years, within that, they have done. The Marathas have done it. We have seen Maratha inscriptions on that. And even this much tall pinnacle, the shadow doesn't fall outside.
Okay.
It falls within the base, 100 by 100 base square. It is a truncated from it, and it goes on like an inverted. They have placed it like an inverted tumbler. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Thank you very much for enlightening, sir.
Well, welcome, Mr. Balakrishnan. Thank you. Bye.
There's a
Mr.
question from
Balakrishnan.
Sivaraman Venkatraman. How does one study the foundation of a living building without ruining it?
See, we don't, just a corner. In one corner, you excavate about 3 feet or 4 feet. You will understand about the foundation. That doesn't ruin the building. If you cut in a corner 90 degrees, you take 4 feet by 4 feet, then remove the earth. You can see, because 4 means for 4 feet, 4 feet. Why I am telling is you want the man to stand inside and dig. If you go for thinner one, I mean smaller one, you cannot. So if the foundation goes up to 10 feet, the 4 feet is enough to see the depth of the foundation, and you can analyze that.
One more question from Anantaraj. Is there any parametrical type architectural temples?
Parametric, I don't think you have that type of, you have some of the parametric thing. That one style, if you take one style, it will have that. One generation, I mean one dynasty, it will have that. Small developments only there, but it will have a correct thing. You have.
Yes, sir. He has also asked how the kings are chosen to build a temple.
The public, the citizens demand. If the king is a right person, he'll listen to the demand of the citizens. And if he is really a good king, he'll be seeing all their needs. If their needs are satisfied, people will go above that, then go for this spiritual side. That is one of the reasons. See, the temples grew, I mean, were at the adjacent on the bank of Kaveri, river Kaveri. So when you make the people around that bank, all the civilization developed only on the banks of thing. I don't have to say about, you are reading history. No, all the river valleys, I mean, all the river, adjacent of the rivers, all the civilizations are, because once people are satisfied with the need, like basic water and the agricultural thing, and well growth of agriculture and other things, the basic needs are satisfied. Once basic needs are satisfied, they switch out the next level. I mean, getting into spiritual side. That is how the temples have done, and due to that developments, it is. I think I answered the question correctly.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So we have another question. What are the methods to choose the right stone for the right purpose?
Very good. See, the traditional methods, they used to use a chisel and hit it. And if you get the bell sound in that, and they say it is high density stone. The sound is lesser, they say it is soft. If there's a damper, the sound is dampered, they say still soft. So the softer stone, you cannot make very very good sculptures. So they go for high density granite. So one thing, near your place, Tirishulam supposed to be the world's hardest granite once. Now we don't have even Tirishulam mountain. They removed it. So
Sir,
that granite was rated as the highest. Tell me.
Any idea where the granite came from for Tanjavur Brihadishwara temple?
That is a mystery. That is a mystery. Good question. That the sample available about 60 kilometers as the crow flies on either Pudukkottai side or this side northwest, that is Kolli Hills. So there only we have the samples. Now later they say Valigandapuram. It is on the Chennai-Trichy highway. There is one rock is on hillock is there. That sample also suits. So either they would have done it with a river through the northwest side river. They would have made a canal or something. And that's what they say, the Vennare. There is one Vennare. That they had, I think, that comes nearer to the fort. And especially the moat. So
Okay.
there they would have done it. Otherwise, by land, they would have made the big wooden logs like a boat.
Okay.
And they would have tied 2 or 3 logs together.
Okay.
Then they would have placed the stone on it and pulled by elephant on
Okay.
road.
Okay.
The wonder in Big Temple is there are 4 huge door jams are there. Each is 4 feet by 4 feet. Now the after dressing. Height is about 40 feet, 42 feet.
Wow.
And before dressing, that should have been about 5 by 5 or 45 or 48. How they had brought it, big question. After bringing it, they had dressed it. How they've made it stand vertically. That's a big technique. Now we have hoist and cranes. You can lift it and place. Now that time they never had anything. They had used all the basic principles. Perfectly they had done it. They were very thorough in that. So the stones have come from 2 or 3 places, still yet to identify from where exactly. That's the research is going on, but government should spend on something on this research so that they should allow them to do the carbon testing, all the things they should facilitate for the person who is doing it. That we don't have. Here we don't have that. Or some huge industrialist should have a corporate fund for that. They should do the research on this. I think L&T or somebody should take up this and do it as a project, identify where the stone has come, where the stone must have come from, that, all those things. That is very important. I don't think any individual can take up and fight against government. That's a thing. Only the corporates can do that, and they can do it as a service.
Yes.
Social corporate responsibility. They have a thing. Once they spend on this, they can get the tax exemptions. They have to do it.
Very nice, sir.
So next question, could you explain the lime mortar mixing methodology for exposed brickwork? Also lime plaster, especially shell lime.
Fantastic. Shell lime is the best one. See what we do now. Shell lime means no unwanted things in that. If it is a conker lime, it will have a lot of wastages. Hard stones will be there. What we do, we bring the conker lime, sprinkle water, and then it actually hydration takes place, and good lime comes out of it. And push the lime into the water, and the water will have a thing underneath water. There will be chemical action, hydration. And once that is, the water will be very hot. You remove that lime with a lime and put it on a mesh sieve, and then filter only the pure lime. Rest of the unwanted stones will be removed. Once you remove it, keep it in the water itself. The day when you want to use it, take it as something like your batter, idli maav or dosa maav, like that. And then you put it in mix it with sand, grind it. Grinding should be done very nicely. The grinding is done mainly to smear all over the particles of sand. So once it becomes homogeneous, it will be a very good mortar. That mortar you can use it for even months together. You can keep it underneath, put it in a shade. Then whenever you want it, you take it out, add water, then that becomes fresh mortar. You can use it. That is one concur lime. Shell lime, simply mix it and put it under water. It will become like a paste. Put it inside water. Whenever you want to use it, remove it and then use it. That is the thing. And when you use a lime mortar in brick, exposed brick, be careful. When you do the mortar joints, immediately wipe out the stains of lime over the brick. Otherwise, it will remain forever.
Yes, sir. So next question. I think there are 7 temples that are in a straight line when we view the India map. How did they do that? How do they find out the latitude and longitude of them?
Only by spiritual guidance. That's the only answer I can say. It has been done spiritual guidance, on in spiritual guidance. No, see, that time there was no, satellite. That time there was no, no connection between a person in Tirupati and person in Tanjavur or person in somewhere in North UP. It was totally on intuition. That's what the Stabadis had, the special intuition for them within themselves. They were able to see this unseen things. They were able to. It is only by spiritual guidance, because I'm a strong believer in God, and it is possible to get intuitions. And if they're really perfect, they'll do it, and finally it synchronizes like this. But that is the only way. You don't have any satellite to guide them. It is only by spiritual guidance. I believe in that, and some may argue, but normally the belief, I tell you, believe. If you believe, there is no need of an argument. If you don't believe, argument is not possible. Am I right?
Yes.
That's all.
So we have a student who's working on Chola architecture as a thesis area. So what are the elements she should consider to bring back the essence?
First, their planning system and how they chose the land and other things, and what technique they had used, what type of stones they had used, from where they had used. Then the style, the entire Chola style, you must take from base to first period to they've been ruling. They're divided into 3 types of Chola: early Chola, mid Chola, and later Chola. Mid Chola were the best in the construction, the architectural side. That is medieval, they call it imperial Chola. So that period you can take and then try to study. You have very good things, like tips and other things. You can get it in Saraswati Mahal and other. Here in Tanjavur, we can guide him. No problem. Even I can put him to Kodavail Balasubramaniam. He'll be able to guide him in the history side.
Yes, sir. So we have a question from Mr. Rengarajan. Is there any common principle of designing a temple, mosque and church, like thumb rules in respect to praying space, circulating space, entrances, height, etc.?
Fantastic question. In temples, in Tamil, we have a sastra for that. We have a sastra, they can do it. No problem in that. In mosque, they have a same system. There are all the lines, all the mosques focus towards Mecca. They have a compass. They have a compass which shows the direction wherever you place. Suppose if you are in India, it will place if Tanjavur, and I have done about 3 mosques in that. It is about 258 degrees or something from Tanjavur. They have a special compass which goes and perfectly shows the direction of Mecca. The same compass, if I place it somewhere in Europe, or somewhere, that will again rotate towards Mecca only. So that compass, the magnetic needle is such a way placed that exactly gives the angle. So they follow the system. And another, they follow mostly the dome. Why they, argument and my findings, they do it dome or vault because the sound is reverberated. They don't need an amplifier or anything to get the perfect sound. Without distortion, it will reverberate. And the sound makes you different. The sound always makes you happy, makes you sad, makes you cry, makes you laugh, like that. The sound which comes out of it has got a full depth in it, And that's one of the reasons they had the minaret, and then from the inside, they used to shout. I mean, they used to say whatever the thing, announcements. Now we have megaphones, loudspeakers, other things. Before that, they used to do that only by vocal thing. So the reverberation used to carry it, and especially early mornings without disturbance, the sound travels for a long distance. And see, the dimensions for that mask is mostly they go for polygonal thing sites, because it reverberates inside. That is one reason. The churches has got again same thing, polygonal, because of the roof structure. If it is the pinnacle goes very high, you have to make it into polygons and circles, end up with a circle. So those were the reasons. Even if they do a rectangular base, they go for a square extension in that at the bottom. So like that, it is based on the needs only. But this temples has got some specific sizes. See, we don't, Tamil Nadu, I mean, especially our forefathers didn't follow the golden mean. They followed a different thing. All the Hindu temples have the proportions of 1:1, 1:1.25, 1:1.5, 1:1.75, like that. Length, breadth, and height. Our proportion is only this. So they had this and they were doing it. So that is based on that. The rectangular thing becomes square, or square becomes. There is no rectangular temples, and very rare, the rectangular sanctum sanctorum. Only it will be in square, or it will be in octagon, or it will be in hexagon. The shapes plays a major role in the what you call the attracting cosmic forces. That is why the chakras, where the chakras comes. I have done a lot of things on chakras also. The chakras has got a shape which attracts cosmic forces. See, chakras is what to see. It is some like the sound in the form of light is chakra. Chakra mandras are sound, and chakras are in the form of light, what you see. Mandras, frozen mandras are chakras.
Yes, sir. We have a next question from Mr. Balakrishnan Vasudevan. He says, traditionally in lime mortar, I'm aware of walnut and jaggery were used as additional ingredients. Were they not used in temples?
Temples also, they used jaggery and this kadakai. They had used it. All the temples where they used lime, they had used this.
Yes, sir.
It is there. They had used it.
Yes, sir.
See, the kadika is actually one which has got a resin type of, it converts it into the binding nature. It has got a binding quality, and the jaggery it's a catalyst. It activates that thing. So it is a catalyst. Jaggery is used as a catalyst. Even, modern construction, when the tank leaks, you know what I do? I take a very well-ripe plantain, and then I use sugar or whatever available there. Mix it. You just on cement. You use it. You just try it. It will generate huge amount of heat. You cannot hold it with your hand. Then because of the hydration, sugar, plantain, and then this one cement reacts very well. And immediately wherever the cracks are there in the water tank, we apply. It's something like a what you call it, the black one what we use now to mix together and place it. Like araldite, it will stick. So all the traditional buildings, they had used it, and that reacts well better.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Maybe the last question from Ms. Sharmila Ashokan. It was a very insightful and inspiring presentation. You had briefed us about temple grammar and the construction technology involved in it. Can you also suggest some books where we could read more about this?
I had given you that 5 books, 6 books on that, reading the temple architecture. Apart from that, one book is a very popular book, but that is not in print, by this Ganapati Stabadi from Mahabalipuram. So there were some of the things, they don't give the exact, the methodology where they used it, but you know the theory about it, and you find the combinations of martyrs, you'll get it. Don't worry, you can, if you search for it, you'll get it. And all traditional architecture, the books available is very minimum. I said 6 books are available. So in that 6 books, you'll be able to see something. But you have to read that. A lot of things are with Sanskrit scripts, something in like even the meaning, they give it Sanskrit words. So you have to change it according to that and then see it. It is available. Don't worry, you'll get it. If you go to Mahabalipuram Traditional Architecture, School of Traditional Architecture, they'll help you. You go as a modern, a student from this college and introduce yourself, ask for the books, they'll be allowing you to see the library. You can get that.
Yes, sir. So last question. We third years have been given a project about collecting information about temples from 7th century to the 20th century. What do you think? How has temple architecture transformed from the 7th century till now? I think he lost connection.
He's there. But I think just
We'll
a
wait for a
implementation.
couple of minutes. Now.
Yeah.
Tell me the question. Complete the question.
Yes, sir. So we third years have been given an assignment to work on temple architecture, of how it has changed from 7th century till present new built temples. What do you think? How has the temple architecture changed in these past centuries? Just a gist.
There's some places where they used traditional systems, it has come in a right way. Some places where they used modern materials in a modern technique, I think they find it difficult. It doesn't match certain things. So my suggestion is to go for a traditional way of doing. Traditional materials should be used, and that is one of the reasons that loses the sanctity when you go for modern materials. You can't go for an aluminum door with a marble laying, all those things. And there should be a natural stone inside. All the materials what you use is from nature. You wouldn't have seen wooden doors there. All the things are only granite, made out of granite. If they follow that system, it will be good, because the sound inside should be absorbed and then it should be let out. So that for granite does the job well, not the other things. So if you go for a polished material, now I am in the government advisory board for 7 districts, heritage screening committee. We don't allow any ceramic tiles inside the temple. We don't allow any polished granite inside the temple. So we go for a rough granite. So that is to mainly absorb the sound. There should not be any reverberation, or you call it echo. So that distorts mantras, whatever you say. Mantras is only sound. The sound does the healing power. So you need all these things, natural materials inside, usage of see whichever the temple they had used, even the modern period traditional methods, traditional materials, it's very good. So when you go for an artificial material inside, the distortion will be there, and you don't have that feel inside. That's the thing. You get a feel inside when you go to a place where the vibrations are there. So that is very important. I think there is a style is okay. They follow the old style by measurement, other things. What the materials they used is very important. I think that's my way of argument.
Sir, I have a question out here on the same topic is, how did they actually come to select that particular site for a temple?
That's one thing. See, nowadays we don't have a choice. Now yes, they have only an empty space somewhere and then give it. But originally they locate something like places where they see a very auspicious thing, the location of the place, something like your urban planning. You have an open space where people are able to come easily. All those things were found. I mean, they had it even in the previous design. And there should not be any water stagnation, the slope, all those things. They see the natural material, the foundation, all those things were noticed in the previous thing. But nowadays we don't have a choice. We have an open space, you build a temple in that. So when they go for the temple, based on the grammar, what is the distance, what is the size, you have to locate it. And the direction is very, very important in temple, especially facing east or facing north. Only 2 directions are allowed. So facing east or facing north. And depending on the land thing, they work on it. So when you go, the olden system is different. They dig and pour water and see the water, how it absorbs all those things. Nowadays, we cannot do that. We have modern equipments, bore, make a bore, take a test bore, see the soil, how it is, then they do it. There's some correlation, some compromise, we are doing it. But the traditional thing is different. You have to wait for some time. And the direction is based on, so Sangastavanam, they call it. They have a cone type of thing and note down the shadow for 48 days. And the mean shadow is taken as a east direction. So like that, they were doing it. Now we don't, we have a compass. So using the compass, still there is a difference between a natural magnetic, earth magnetic and other 23.5 degrees tilt. So there will be a turbulent thing. So that and all, you have to see the exact magnetic north and then place it.
Yes, sir. That's it. That's it, sir. There are no more questions. Thank you so much, sir, for
Welcome.
answering each question patiently. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Kushi. Thank you, sir, and to all the participants who so patiently participated and made this such a lively session. I thank each one of you who made this session very special. And thank you, Rajendran, sir, because your insight and learning and understanding is so precious to the next generation. As Kushi put it, I hope the next generation have such masters and maestros to pass on such kind of data. And the way you put it was so fundamental and so easy to imbibe. It was a pleasure having you with us, and we are looking forward to the workshops you promised us. And we will definitely keep in mind all your suggestions of getting those information from the other colleges, like those research points at Mahabalipuram and all that. And I'm sure my children are so excited about what they have learned from you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So very much.
And once again, I request all the young faculty members, teach the basics, learn the basics well, teach the basics, leave the other things to students. They will venture, they'll go about and they'll find their own way of doing it. So that is the way of learning. That way of learning will take you places. So I wish you all a good luck. And whenever you have anything regarding this type of doubts or anything, even cost effective side, I haven't talked about that. I haven't said anything about that, talked about that thing. So whenever there is a thing, I'm ready to share the knowledge, and we'll have a good time when we meet again after Corona or something.
Yes,
I'll come there and do it personally, do it with the hands-on thing. It'll be good. You see some of my works in your place. Now itself, you can see that it is outside your campus. I'm outside your classroom, somewhere there. Twisted columns, domes, all those things are still there. So you do it. It'll be very interesting. Once you do the hands-on workshop, you understand the whole principle. That will make you so confident, and that will improve your confidence also. You do it. Learn it by doing it hands-on. So
they in fact want your number, sir.
944. Let them note it down. My number is 94426 41747. You can call me after 6 o'clock to up to 11:30, and morning after 8 o'clock up to 10:30 or 12. In between, if I'm in the class, I won't be able to take. That's why I have not given the time. Even sometimes you try, if I don't take, it is due to class or something meeting. In between, after lunchtime, I can see the call and call you. Once I call you, just tell me that you have attended this. You are from SRM. You are talking from here. That's why, that's how I'll be able to understand your question. Okay. Once again, I repeat, my number is 94426 41747.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.